Hello, and welcome back to my channel. And this time of year is usual for YouTubers to look back at the year that is about to end, and I decided to do the same. I'll be going through my favorite games of the year and my least favorite games of the year. And in this video, we'll go through the disappointments. This is the 5 games that disappointed me in 2018. These are all games that I never managed to play through, either because I got bored, or the game was just glitchy and broken, or I hated the experience for some other reason and decided not to play through the whole thing. If you like any of these games on this list, well, good for you. But for me, personally, these were the biggest disappointments of this year. We'll start the list with a couple of items that never even made it to the channel. Number 5, we have Summer Nightmare. Summer Nightmare is a free-to-play horror visual novel. The premise looked very interesting. There's a monster killing people in high school, and the protagonist is supposed to save the people, or at least try. I was expecting something like Silence the House, but unfortunately that is not what we got here. First of all, the art style of the game is very unoriginal and kind of boring, but the game is free, so whatever. What killed this for me was poor writing. Right from the beginning, the dialogues were kind of forced and unnatural, and, well, the start of the game is still kind of promising. The protagonist is suspected of being a serial killer, and the player is made to wonder if he really is one and if he's the real bad guy of the story. But then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the game changes into supernatural survival horror, and we're running away from an unseen monster, and that serial killer stuff that was made such a huge point of in the beginning is just thrown away. The change in the mood was so sudden that it just felt ridiculous. It didn't make any sense, and I stopped playing at that point. Maybe Doki Doki Literature Club raised my standards for free-to-play games, but... At number 4, we have the Red Strings Club. Now this is something that I actually looked forward to play. It is supposedly a cyberpunk narrative experience with a detective story and a really deep themes of humanity and such, and it started out just fine. But then, very soon after the first scene, I got stuck to a goddamn pottery section with no way out of it, no clue as to how it's supposed to tie into the rest of the story, and I was stuck there for half an hour. Eventually I gave up out of boredom. I know that maybe if I'd somehow gotten past that point, I probably would have enjoyed the game just fine. But yeah, if I get bored in a tutorial, then I'm not going to play the game through. No. The rest of the games on this list you have seen on my channel. Can you guess what is number 1? At number 3, we have Inner Voices. Again, this started out just fine. Inner Voices is a non-linear horror walking simulator with some puzzles thrown in the mix. The protagonist is perceivably dead and in some kind of limbo, and we need to collect his memories and try to find out what exactly happened so he can move on. And it had a bit of layers of feel to it with its changing environments, and the mood was actually really scary at first. But then the thing glitched. I got stuck to a sacrificial chamber of some kind, and I had all the items in the right places, but nothing happened. No amount of restarting made that glitch go away, and even if I started from an earlier save and tried to do something else, I'd eventually always end up in that sacrificial chamber with no way of progressing the game any further from that point on. And that is a real shame because Inner Voices was actually very good as a horror game, but yeah, I couldn't play it through because the game wouldn't let me. At number 2 we have Ritchies Nightmare. Ritchies Nightmare is a very cute looking horror themed platformer. The visuals of it are very unique and the story was actually pretty interesting. The sound design and the puzzles, they were all just fine. The reason why this was a disappointment was its absolutely horrible controls. The delay between the button press and the action was very long, and surprisingly often the commands wouldn't register at all. Now, it says on the Steam page that this game is intentionally difficult. Okay, fine. But you cannot excuse shitty or lazy coding or completely broken gameplay just by saying that this is supposed to be difficult. The game still needs to work. And number 1. Did you guess it right? It's Dark Souls Remastered. I tried. I really tried to like this game because so many had said that Dark Souls is the best video game ever made. But for me personally, it was just frustrating and painful. I found no joy or pleasure in killing the same enemies over and over again. I found no feeling of accomplishment after beating a boss because it felt that it didn't make any difference, it didn't really change anything. I was never clear on the ultimate objective of the game. Why was I even doing that? What was I even trying to accomplish there? And that just made the endless grinding even more frustrating. In Dark Souls Remastered, especially the PC version with mouse and keyboard, the controls were just shitty. There were some commands that didn't even exist, like jumping. There was no possibility to do that. And then other things just happened completely randomly, like kicking, with no control over it. The graphics really weren't as nice as I expected from a remastered game, and all in all, that experience was just painful. Now, I've heard that the console release was a lot better, with a lot better gameplay and a lot better everything, but I don't care, because even if this had worked perfectly, if everything would have been polished and nice, I still hated the endless grinding, especially when it seemed like it had no actual goal or purpose. And what's even more sad is that, in a way, Dark Souls Remastered ruined a whole bunch of other games for me as well. Anything that is described as Souls-like, anything that is compared to Dark Souls in any way, anything made by From Software, I'll be skipping all of those from now on because I just hated this so much. I wasted so many hours being angry and in physical pain that I do not want to experience anything even remotely like that ever again. And so, these 5 games were the biggest disappointments of 2018. Again, if you liked these games, good for you, wonderful, I'm happy for you. Please don't ask me to give them another chance. I won't. Thank you all so much for watching this. The favorites list will be up in just a couple of days. Tell me down in the comments what games disappointed you this year. As always, I hope you're having a great day and I will see you again next time.